Well, it's safe to say that Tokyo Ghoul is my favorite manga. How many have I read, you ask? I've read about 8. I'm not done with a couple of them, and some of them are still ongoing. But out of the ones that are finished, it's been Tokyo Ghoul RE, and Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku. I mean, obviously, those are the big 3. I finished this pretty recently, and I really want to talk about it real quick, because it was just fucking amazing. Spoiler free for most of this, and if I do spoil something, I will give you a warning. So let me get into this. The artwork was so fucking good. I was blown away almost every single chapter. Ishida's art has gotten so much better compared to his work on Tokyo Ghoul. Looking at chapter 1 compared to chapter 1 of RE, it's just so impressive, which makes sense because obviously you would get better after time. He has gotten so fucking good, and this series just looks amazing. I'm not going to talk about all the characters in this video because that would just be way too long, but I'm just going to talk about the ones that I think are important to mention and just some of my favorite characters. He's still my favorite main character of all time. He's so likable, and you can't help but want the best for him. He also makes decisions that either make sense, or at least they just don't piss you off, because a lot of other main characters make dumb decisions that just piss you off. But I love Kaneki. I talk about him more in my OG Tokyo Ghoul video, so just go watch that. I really wish she was used more and played a more prominent role in the story, because she is one of my favorites. And she was also getting less and less screen time near the end of part 1. Spoiler warning. Although I'm glad she didn't have that much screen time or didn't fight that much, because that motherfucker, Mutsuki, I was legit scared to read because I thought he was gonna kill her the whole time. But thankfully I didn't have to experience that, and you know, Kaneki and Toka had a happy ending, so that's just fire. He is so fucking badass. I wish I mentioned him in my part 1 video, but he is so fucking cool. I love him. He just seems super plain, and you wouldn't think he'd be like the most powerful person in the whole series, but he is. And I love his relationship with Kaneki. He is a real one. I loved him in part 1, and he's even better in RE. If you liked him, you'll love him even more. This motherfucker is mischievous, and he's also pretty likable, and he is a great villain. He is such a good character, and I love what they did with him. A lot of people were hating on him in the comments. I liked him a lot because I could see the parallels between him and Kaneki. Both went through some crazy ass shit, and they were not the same after. Spoiler. But it's not like I was rooting for him, because at the end, I was wanting Yuri to kill his ass, because I feel like that would have been better to end his character by him just also ending, but I'm not disappointed with what they did. That's all the characters I'm going to talk about, but there are so many other amazing characters like Yuri, Akira, Hinami, Ayato, Shu, Naki, Shirazu, spoiler, Amon, and Hide. A shit ton more, but I'm going to need to talk about the story. Spoiler warning for Tokyo Ghoul and Tokyo Ghoul RE. So at the end of part 1, Kaneki gets his brain fucked up because Arima stabbed him twice in the head. The story follows Kaneki after all this happens, and now he goes by Sasaki, who's a ghoul investigator, until he eventually breaks out when he's on an operation where he has to kill Shu. And then Kaneki goes on like a 200 IQ play for the rest of the story, but that's all I'm going to talk about. But for the no spoiler people, Sasaki is a ghoul investigator who is the leader of a squad implanted with Kagunes. They are Shirazu, Mutsuki, Yuri, Yonebashi. They go on many operations together, and it's always a point of morality between all of them. That goes on for some time until they get a mission to eliminate someone. Sasaki has some internal conflict that really changes up the story and the feel of the story from there on. That's all I'm going to talk about because you should read this for yourself. But the story has so many ups and downs, so much hype, so much tension. It keeps you sucked in every single chapter. My only complaint is that there are a lot of things going on at once and it can get confusing. Also, a lot of moments felt cheap and confusing. Like if someone was dead like 20 chapters later, they'll just come back to life. It doesn't make that much sense, and it lessens what previously happened between them. But it's not that big of a deal because the positives outweigh the negatives. My favorite volume is 8, which is pretty funny because my favorite volume was 8 in part 1. But my favorite chapters are 54, 79, 83, 119, 125, and last but not least, 179, because this shit has such a good ending. I'm going to give Tokyo Ghoul and Tokyo Ghoul RE, both a 10 out of 10. I love this shit. The art looks amazing. I love the characters. Tokyo Ghoul RE is amazing, and it did live up to the hype of part 1. I still think I like part 1 better. I still think they're about equal terms. I feel like Tokyo Ghoul just has the edge over RE, but they're both still 10s. But yeah, that's about it, and I'll see y'all next video.